Zara Vexton yawned as she stared at the radar screen in front of her. The small green dots moved slowly across the black background. Nothing unusual ever happened during her shift. For 3 years, she had worked as a junior radar technician on the Galactic Confederation ship Stellar Vigilance. For 3 years, she had watched the same ships move through the same routes in the same patterns. Today was no different. Zara's four-fingered hand reached for her cup of warm brill juice. Her purple skin looked even more vibrant under the soft blue lights of the radar station. Her antennae twitched slightly as she took a sip of the bitter drink. Another boring day in Sector 7, she muttered to herself. The radar system beeped suddenly. Zara nearly dropped her cup. A new dot had appeared on the screen. It was moving fast, much faster than most ships could travel in this part of space. Zara sat up straight. She pressed a few buttons on her control panel. The computer began to analyze the new ship. After a few seconds, a message flashed on her screen. Unknown vessel type E. No message in database. This was strange. The Confederation had records of every ship type from every known species in the galaxy. Zara checked the signal again. It was strong and clear, not a glitch or space debris. Computer, run a second analysis with extended parameters, Zara ordered. The computer hummed for a moment. Then a new message appeared. Partial message found. Historical RCHIV section M42H. Zara frowned. Section M42H was the mythological archives. It contained stories and legends, not real ship data. She tapped more buttons, pulling up the matched file. Her eyes widened as she read the screen. The signal matched descriptions of vessels supposedly built by humans. But humans weren't real. They were creatures from old stories, used to scare young aliens about the dangers of unchecked aggression and rapid technological development. Every educated Confederation citizen knew humans were fictional. The stories claimed they had been quarantined to their home system centuries ago after a brief, violent first contact. Official records stated humans had destroyed themselves in nuclear war shortly after, and the stories that remained were merely cautionary tales. Zara needed to report this. She pressed the communication button on her console. Commander Crix, this is Junior Technician Vexton. I'm picking up an unusual signal in Sector 7. The commander's gruff voice came through the speaker. What kind of signal, Vexton? It's a ship, sir. But the computer can't identify it. It only found a partial match in the mythological archives. It's showing similarities to human vessels, sir. There was a pause, then a laugh. Humans? Vexton, have you been drinking fermented brill juice on duty? No, sir. The signal is real. I've run multiple analyses. Listen, young one. Humans are not real. They never were. They're stories made up to teach younglings about the dangers of aggression. Your equipment is malfunctioning. Run a diagnostic and clear the false reading. But sir, that's an order, technician. The communication line went dead. Zara sat back in her chair, antennae drooping in frustration. She looked at the screen again. The unknown ship was still there, moving steadily through Confederation space. She couldn't just ignore this. Zara made a copy of the radar data and saved it to her personal device. After her shift ended, she would look into this further. 6 hours later, Zara sat in the ship's digital archives, searching for every reference to humans she could find. Most entries were clearly labeled as fiction or mythology. But some older documents were more ambiguous, written as if humans had actually existed. One document caught her eye. A first contact report dated 237 years ago. It described a brief, violent encounter with a species from the Sol system. The report ended with a recommendation for quarantine, not a declaration of extinction. What if humans hadn't destroyed themselves? What if they had survived, hidden from the Confederation all this time? The radar system beeped again the next day. The same unknown signal appeared, stronger this time. Zara quickly recorded the data, comparing it to the historical records. The match was even clearer now. Without authorization, Zara directed a long-range scanner toward the signal's origin. A moment later, an image appeared on her screen. A sleek vessel unlike any Confederation design, moving purposefully through space. Humans, it seemed, were not a myth after all. Zara couldn't sleep that night. The image of the strange ship stayed in her mind. She tossed and turned in her sleeping pod, her purple skin glowing faintly in the darkness. If humans were real, why had the Confederation hidden this truth? Why turn them into myths? When her next shift began, Zara checked the radar immediately. The human ship was gone. She felt a mix of disappointment and relief. Had it jumped to another sector? Or had it detected her scan and hidden itself? Technician Vexton, did you complete the system diagnostic I'd ordered? Commander Crix's voice made her jump. Yes, sir. All systems are functioning properly, Zara replied, quickly closing the file with the ship's image. The commander, a tall insectoid with shiny black exoskeleton, clicked his mandibles in annoyance. Yet I see you are still looking for ghosts. With respect, sir, what if humans aren't myths? What if they're real and have been watching us all this time? Commander Crix's compound eyes narrowed. This fascination with human myths is unhealthy, Vexton. It borders on obsession. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. Such talk could harm your career. Focus on reality, not children's stories. After he left, Zara slumped in her chair. Maybe she was obsessing over nothing. Maybe the signal had been a glitch after all. When her shift ended, Zara headed to the ship's library instead of her quarters. The library was nearly empty this late in the cycle, perfect for what she needed to do. Computer, access historical archives, specifically first contact protocols from 200 to 300 years ago, she whispered. The computer hummed. Access restricted. Security clearance required. Zora bit her lip. She didn't have high enough clearance. Then she remembered her friend Jorex worked in security. He owed her a favor after she helped repair his personal communication device. An hour later, Zara used Jorex's borrowed access card to enter the restricted archives. Her heart raced as she searched through the files. Most were boring diplomatic reports about known species, but then she found a folder labeled Sol System, classified. Inside was a detailed report about a first contact mission gone wrong. The Confederation ship Peacekeeper had approached a blue planet called Earth. The humans had responded with fear and hostility. There had been weapons fired, misunderstandings. The humans had damaged the Peacekeeper before it retreated. The Confederation Council had voted to quarantine the Sol system. They placed warning beacons around the system and declared it off-limits. They believed humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable to join the galactic community. But nowhere did it say humans had destroyed themselves. That part was a lie. Zora downloaded the files to her personal device. As she was leaving, she noticed another folder labeled Human Monitoring, Annual Reports. The most recent report was dated just 5 years ago. She opened it quickly. The report stated that observation posts near the Sol system had detected unusual activity. The quarantine beacons had been moved slightly. There were signs of advanced technology development within the system. The report recommended increased monitoring. The Confederation hadn't just quarantined humans. They had been watching them all along. Zara returned to her quarters, mind racing. The next day, she watched the radar with new purpose. 8 hours into her shift, the signal appeared again. This time, it was closer to the stellar vigilance. Making a quick decision, Zura did something that could end her career or worse. She sent a direct communication ping to the human vessel. This is Junior Technician Zara Vexton of the Galactic Confederation vessel Stellar Vigilance. Unknown ship, please identify yourself. She didn't expect an answer. Sending unauthorized communications to unknown vessels was a serious offense. She would likely be removed from her post, possibly even court-martialed. But 3 hours later, as her shift was ending, her console beeped. A response had arrived. This is Captain Eric Donovan of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and request permission to establish diplomatic relations. The message was in perfect galactic standard. Zara stared at the screen, her antennae twitching wildly in shock. The myths had not only returned, they wanted to talk. Zara's hands shook as she read the message again. A real human had responded to her. They spoke galactic standard perfectly. How was that possible? Before she could reply, alarms blared throughout the radar station. Red lights flashed overhead. Zara looked up to see Commander Crix rushing toward her, flanked by 2 security officers. Junior Technician Vexton, you are under arrest for breaching first contact protocols and endangering the stellar vigilance, Crix said, his voice cold and official. The security officers grabbed Zora's arms. One of them took her personal device. Sir, please, you don't understand. Humans are real. They just responded to my message. They want to talk to us. Zara tried to point at her screen, but the officers pulled her away. Your actions have triggered a Level 1 security alert, Crix said. Unauthorized communication with unknown vessels is strictly forbidden. But sir, they're not unknown. They're humans from Earth. They've been isolated for centuries, but now they want diplomatic relations. Crix's compound eyes narrowed. Enough about humans, Vexton. Your obsession with myths has gone too far. The officers dragged Zara from the radar station. As they pulled her through the doorway, she saw her console light up with another incoming message. The humans were trying to communicate again, but no one was listening. The security officers took Zara to a small detention cell. The walls were plain metal, with only a simple bed and toilet inside. One officer scanned her for weapons while the other stood by the door. Please, Zara said, check the radar station. The human ship is out there. They responded to my message. The officers said nothing. They left, and the door sealed with a hiss. Zara sat on the bed, her antennae drooping. She had discovered one of the biggest secrets in Confederation history, and now she was locked up for it. No one would believe her without proof, and the proof was on her console and personal device, both now beyond her reach. Hours passed. Zara tried to sleep but couldn't. Her mind kept returning to the human's message. Captain Eric Donovan. An Earth vessel called Horizon. They had come in peace. After centuries of isolation, why reach out now? The cell door opened suddenly. A tall, thin alien with gray skin and large eyes entered. Zara recognized the insignia on his uniform immediately. This was Security Director Thax, one of the highest-ranking officers on the Stellar Vigilance. Junior Technician Vexton, he said, his voice surprisingly soft. You've caused quite a disturbance. Zara stood up quickly. Sir, I know what the records say, but humans aren't myths. They're real, and they're trying to contact us. Director Thax studied her face. Tell me, Technician, how did you access the classified historical archives? Zara swallowed hard. There was no point lying now. I borrowed a security clearance card, sir. From Technician Jorex, yes. He's been disciplined. Thax paced around the small cell. Do you understand the seriousness of what you've done? Unauthorized communications with an unknown vessel. Accessing restricted files. Spreading dangerous misinformation about mythological species. They're not mythological. Zara couldn't help herself. They responded in perfect galactic standard. They know who we are. Thax stopped pacing. And how would a species quarantined for centuries know our language and protocols? Technician. I don't know, sir. Maybe they've been studying us. Maybe they've had contact with other species. Please, just check the message logs. We have. Thax's expression was unreadable. That's why I'm here. Zara's antennae perked up. Then you've seen it. The message from Captain Donovan. The situation has evolved. Thax pressed a button on his wrist device. A holographic image appeared in the center of the cell. It showed the main bridge of the Stellar Vigilance. The ship's captain stood facing the main view screen. On the screen was a face Zara had never seen before. It was pink-skinned with fur on top of its head. It had two small eyes, a protruding nose, and a mouth full of flat teeth. It was wearing some kind of uniform with strange symbols on the shoulders. "This is Captain Eric Donovan of the Earth vessel Horizon," the creature said in perfect galactic standard. "We request permission to send a diplomatic envoy to discuss formal relations between Earth and the Galactic Confederation." A hologram disappeared. Thax stared at Zara. "It seems, Technician Vexton, that you were correct. Humans are not a myth after all." Captain Eric Donovan stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon, looking at the large view screen before him. The alien ship was much bigger than his own, at least 3 times the size of the Horizon. Its design was elegant, with smooth curves and glowing blue lines running along its hull. "They've received our message, Captain," said Lisa Kim, the communications specialist. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "They're requesting identification codes and further information about our mission." Eric nodded. After years of preparation, humans were finally making official contact with the Galactic Confederation. He couldn't help feeling a mix of pride and nervousness. "Send them the diplomatic package we prepared," he ordered. "Make sure they understand we come in peace." "Yes, sir," Lisa replied. First Officer Samantha Rivers moved to stand beside Eric. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was perfectly pressed. "Do you think they'll believe us, Captain?" she asked quietly. "After all this time?" Eric sighed. "I don't know, Sam. They'd spent centuries thinking we're either extinct or just stories. This won't be easy." "The Confederation has a lot to answer for," Samantha said, her voice harder now. "They quarantined us, abandoned us, and then spread lies about our destruction." "That's in the past," Eric said firmly. "Our mission is to establish peaceful relations, not to seek revenge. Remember that." Samantha nodded reluctantly. Eric knew she wasn't alone in her anger. Many humans resented the Confederation for their actions centuries ago. But Earth's leaders had decided that isolation had served its purpose. It was time to join the galactic community. "Captain," called Jack Martinez from the engineering station, "I'm detecting energy spikes from the Confederation vessel. They might be preparing weapons." Eric tensed. "Defensive shields only, Jack. No offensive measures." "Understood, sir." The bridge fell silent as they waited for the Confederation's response. Eric thought about the long journey that had brought them here. For centuries after the disastrous first contact, Earth had hidden itself from the galaxy. They had developed technology to mask their system from detection and had sent out only small, stealthy observation vessels to learn about the wider universe. During that time, humanity had grown and evolved. They had colonized their own solar system and developed technology that, in some areas, surpassed what the Confederation possessed. They had intercepted and decoded Confederation communications, learning their languages and customs. When Earth's leaders finally decided to end their isolation, they had chosen Eric and his crew for this critical mission. The Horizon was Earth's newest and most advanced ship, but it was unarmed except for defensive systems. They wanted to show peaceful intentions. "Captain, we're receiving a video transmission request," Lisa announced, breaking the tense silence. "Accept it," Eric said, straightening his uniform. The view screen changed to show an alien bridge, much larger and more colorful than the Horizon's. In the center stood a tall, insect-like creature with a black exoskeleton and compound eyes. "This is Captain Vorex of the Galactic Confederation vessel Stellar Vigilance," the alien said in a clicking, buzzing voice that the translation system rendered into English. "Your presence in Confederation space is unauthorized. Explain yourselves immediately." Eric stepped forward. "Captain Vorex, I am Captain Eric Donovan of Earth. Humanity has decided to end its isolation and seeks peaceful relations with the Confederation. We request a face-to-face meeting to discuss diplomatic ties." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Earth is a quarantine system. Your species was reported extinct 237 years ago. As you can see, Captain, those reports were incorrect," Eric said with a small smile. Humanity is very much alive, and we have much to offer the galactic community. Captain Vorex seemed to hesitate. Then he said, "A security team will board your vessel for inspection. Prepare to be scanned for weapons and pathogens." The transmission ended abruptly. "Well," Samantha said, "that went about as well as expected." Eric nodded. "Prepare for visitors. Tell the crew to be on their best behavior. First impressions matter." As the horizon moved closer to the stellar vigilance, Eric wondered what would happen next. After centuries of myths and misunderstandings, humans were about to meet the galaxy face to face. Zara couldn't believe her luck. After being arrested for unauthorized contact with humans, she now found herself part of the official boarding party. Director Thax had insisted she join them because of her knowledge of human mythology. "Remember, you are here as an advisor only," Thax told her as they waited in the shuttle bay. "Do not speak unless spoken to." Zara nodded, trying to contain her excitement. She was about to meet real humans. Creatures she had thought were just stories until a few days ago. The boarding party consisted of 6 officers: Director Thax, 2 security guards, a medical officer, a cultural specialist, and Zara. They boarded a small shuttle that would take them to the human vessel. As they approached the horizon, Zara pressed her face against the viewport. The human ship was smaller than the stellar vigilance, but had a sleek, powerful look. Its hull was white with blue markings, and it had unusual engines that glowed with a soft orange light. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Thax turned to address the team one last time. "We know very little about modern humans," he said. "Be alert. Follow standard first contact protocols. And remember, these creatures may look harmless, but our historical records show they can be unpredictable and dangerous." The airlock door slid open. Standing on the other side were 3 humans. Zara immediately recognized Captain Eric Donovan from the transmission. He was taller in person, with short brown fur on top of his head and a friendly expression on his face. Beside him stood a female human with dark fur tied back, and a male with darker skin than the others. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Captain Donovan said, placing his hand over his chest in what must have been a human greeting gesture. "I'm Captain Eric Donovan. This is my first officer, Samantha Rivers, and our chief engineer, Jack Martinez." Director Thax stepped forward. "I am Security Director Thax of the Stellar Vigilance. We are here to verify your identity and intentions." Captain Donovan smiled. "Of course. We expected nothing less. Please, follow me to our conference room where we can talk more comfortably." As they walked through the human ship, Zara tried not to stare, but it was difficult. Everything was so different from Confederation design. The corridors were straight instead of curved, with bright lighting and strange symbols on the walls. Other humans they passed nodded respectfully or saluted. The conference room had a large table with chairs around it. Zara had never seen chairs designed like these, clearly made for the human's unusual body shape. The walls displayed moving images of what Zara guessed was Earth, a blue planet with swirling white clouds and green landmasses. "Please, sit," Captain Donovan said, gesturing to the chairs. The Confederation team hesitated, then carefully seated themselves. Zara found the chair strangely comfortable despite not being designed for her 4-limbed body. "I understand you have questions," Captain Donovan began. "We are prepared to answer them honestly and openly." Director Thax leaned forward. "Our records indicate that humans were quarantined to their home system 237 years ago after a hostile first contact. All subsequent reports stated your species have destroyed itself in nuclear war. How do you explain your presence here?" Captain Donovan's expression grew serious. "There was no nuclear war. After the unfortunate first contact, Earth's leaders decided we weren't ready for galactic society. We chose isolation to develop at our own pace without external influence. We used your belief in our extinction as protection, while we prepared to rejoin the galactic community as equals." The cultural specialist, a tall pink-skinned alien named Mira, spoke up. "You've been hiding all this time. Developing in secret, not hiding, First Officer Rivers corrected. Growing. Learning. We've been studying the Confederation for decades. We've monitored your transmissions, learned your languages, observed your trade routes. Zara couldn't stay silent any longer. But how? Our sensors would have detected your ships. Jack Martinez smiled. Not with our cloaking technology. We've developed ways to mask our energy signatures and bend light around our vessels. Director Fax looked alarmed. Are you saying you've been spying on us? We prefer to call it research, Captain Donovan said smoothly. Just as you've no doubt been monitoring our system, despite believing us extinct. Fax's antennae twitched uncomfortably. He couldn't deny the truth of this statement. Why come forward now? Zara asked, ignoring Fax's glare. Captain Donovan turned to her, his eyes kind. Because it's time. Humanity is ready to join the galactic community. And the galaxy is facing threats that we believe we can help with. Director Fax's antennae twitched with concern. What threats are you referring to, Captain Donovan? Before the human captain could answer, a loud alarm blared throughout the horizon. Red lights flashed in the conference room. Jack Martinez pressed a button on his wrist device. Captain, we have a situation. 3 unidentified vessels just appeared on our long-range scanners. They're moving fast toward our position. Captain Donovan stood up quickly. Excuse us, Director. We may have unexpected company. He turned to First Officer Rivers. Sam, take our guests back to the bridge. I want to check something in engineering with Jack. As they followed Rivers through the corridors, Zora noticed the human crew moving with practiced efficiency. There was no panic, just focused determination. When they reached the bridge, Zora was amazed by the technology. The command center was smaller than on Confederation ships, but packed with advanced equipment. A large view screen showed 3 red dots approaching their position. Magnify Sector 4, Rivers ordered. The screen zoomed in, showing 3 dark, angular ships. Their hulls were black with red markings, and they had unusual weapons mounted on their sides. Director Fax gasped. Dravak's warships. You know them? Rivers asked, her expression serious. They're raiders and pirates. Fax explained. They attack Confederation outposts along the outer sectors. They're dangerous and well-armed. Rivers nodded. We've observed their activities. They're one of the threats we wanted to discuss. The communications officer, who Zara recognized as Lisa Kim from earlier, spoke up. First Officer, the Stellar Vigilance is hailing us. Put it through, Rivers ordered. Captain Vorex's insectoid face appeared on screen. First Officer Rivers, we detect 3 Dravak's warships approaching. You must return to our vessel immediately. The Stellar Vigilance will escort you back to Confederation space. Rivers stood tall. With respect, Captain Vorex, the Dravaks are attacking both our ships. We should coordinate our defense. The Horizon is a diplomatic vessel. Vorex clicked. It is not equipped for combat. Return your visitors and prepare to retreat. Captain Donovan entered the bridge. Captain Vorex, this is Captain Donovan. While the Horizon is indeed a diplomatic vessel, we are not defenseless. We suggest a joint operation. Before Vorex could reply, Lisa called out, Sir, the Dravak ships are powering weapons. Shields up, Donovan ordered calmly. Zara watched in amazement as a shimmering blue field appeared around the ship on the tactical display. It was unlike any shield technology the Confederation possessed. The lead Dravak ship fired a bright red beam at the Stellar Vigilance. The Confederation ship shuddered under the impact. The Vigilance's shields are down to 60% from a single hit, Jack reported from his station. Captain Vorex's image flickered. How did you know our shield strength? We'll explain later, Donovan said. Captain, with your permission, the Horizon will take a defensive position between your ship and the Dravaks. Vorex hesitated, then nodded. Granted. Donovan turned to his pilot. Alan, position us between the Vigilance and the Dravak's fleet. Sam, Activate defensive countermeasures, but hold off on the pulse until my mark. The horizon moved with surprising speed for its size. Zara felt a slight shift as the ship took up position, protecting the larger Confederation vessel. Two Dravak ships fired simultaneously at the horizon. Zara held her breath, expecting severe damage. Instead, the human ship's shields flared brightly but held firm. Shields at 95%, Jack reported with a small smile. Director Thax stared in disbelief. How is that possible? Those weapons would have crippled one of our ships. Different technology, Jack said simply. The Dravak ships moved closer, firing continuously now. Their weapons seemed to have little effect on the horizon's shields. They're trying to surround us, Rivers observed. Donovan nodded. Time to show them what we can do. Jack, prepare the pulse. Lisa, send a warning to the Dravak ships in their language. Tell them to withdraw immediately or face consequences. Lisa sent the message. The Dravaks responded by launching a volley of torpedoes. They've made their choice, Donovan said grimly. Jack, activate the pulse. Jack pressed a sequence of buttons. Pulse ready, Captain. Fire. A wave of blue energy rippled out from the horizon in all directions. When it reached the Dravak ships, their systems flickered and died. The torpedoes they had launched simply disappeared. Zara gasped. What was that? First Officer Rivers smiled at her. An electromagnetic pulse with a twist. It disables electronic systems, but leaves organic life unharmed. The Dravak ships will be dead in space for about 20 minutes. The Stellar Vigilance and the Horizon docked at Outpost 12, a large Confederation space station near the border of their territory. News of the humans' arrival spread quickly. By the time they docked, hundreds of curious aliens had gathered in the viewing areas to catch a glimpse of the mythical species. Zara walked beside Captain Donovan as the mixed group made their way to the station's meeting hall. Aliens of all shapes and sizes stared at the humans with a mix of fear, curiosity, and wonder. They're looking at you like you're going to eat them, Zara whispered to Donovan. The human captain smiled. Can't blame them. Until today, we were just scary bedtime stories. The large meeting hall was filled with Confederation officials and security personnel. At the center sat 5 elderly aliens of different species. The station council, Captain Vorex and Director Thax, joined them at the main table. Donovan and his crew stood before the council, backs straight and faces calm. Zara was asked to sit to the side as an observer. The head counselor, an ancient blue-skinned alien with 4 arms, spoke first. Captain Eric Donovan of Earth, your presence here is unprecedented. For centuries, we believed humans were extinct. Now you appear with technology that rivals or exceeds our own. The council has questions. Donovan nodded respectfully. We are happy to answer them, Counselor. First, explain how humans survived and developed without detection. Donovan gestured to Jack Martinez, who stepped forward. After the first contact incident, Earth's leaders decided isolation was safest for everyone. We developed technology to hide our system from detection. We created advanced cloaking systems and sensor jamming fields. We built observation posts at the edge of our system to monitor Confederation activities. The counselors whispered among themselves. And your weapons? Another counselor asked. The pulse you used against the Dravaks. Defensive technology, First Officer Rivers clarified. We developed it to disable rather than destroy. We believe in minimal force. The head counselor leaned forward. Yet your ship was able to withstand Dravak's weapons that would have crippled our vessels. How is this possible? Jack Martinez explained. We took a different approach to shield technology. Rather than trying to block energy, our shields absorb and redistribute it. The more energy directed at them, the stronger they become. Many in the hall gasped at this revelation. And now you wish to join the Confederation? The head counselor asked. After centuries of deception. Not deception, Donovan corrected firmly. Self-preservation. We needed time to develop on our own terms. Now we believe both humanity and the Confederation can benefit from open relations. Before the Council could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A Confederation officer rushed into the hall. Counselors, 3 Dravaks warships have entered the sector. They're larger than the ones from earlier, battlecruisers. They're demanding we hand over the human vessel, or they will attack the station. Panic spread through the room. The station's shields were not designed to withstand a direct assault from Dravak's battlecruisers. How long until they're in firing range? The head counselor asked. 15 minutes, the officer replied. Captain Donovan turned to his crew. They seemed to communicate without words, exchanging glances and subtle nods. Counselor, Donovan said, his voice calm but firm. The Horizon can help defend this station. 1 small ship against 3 battlecruisers. A counselor scoffed. Impossible. Not for us. First Officer Rivers said confidently. The head counselor studied the humans carefully. What do you propose, Captain Donovan? Let us return to our ship. We have defensive systems that can be calibrated to protect the station. We will need to work with your technical team to interface with your systems. Director Fax stood up. Counselors, I witnessed their technology firsthand. I believe they can help. There was a moment of tense silence. Then the head counselor nodded. Very well. Director Fax will coordinate with you. As they rushed back to the docking bay, Zura found herself running alongside Captain Donovan. Can you really protect the station? She asked. Donovan's expression was determined. We can do more than that, Zora. We can end the Dravak's threat in this sector once and for all. But first, I need your help. My help? But I'm just a radar technician. Exactly, Donovan said with a smile. You understand Confederation systems better than anyone else we've met. We need to link our defensive grid to the station's shields. Can you help us do that? Zara's antennae quivered with excitement and fear. I can try. That's all we ask, Donovan said as they reached the airlock to the Horizon. Now let's show the Confederation what humans can really do. The next 10 minutes were the most intense of Zora's life. She sat at a console on the Horizon's bridge, working frantically with Jack Martinez to connect the human defensive systems to the station's shields. This connection node isn't compatible, Zora said, her fingers flying over the controls. We need to create an adapter. Jack nodded. I can code one. Keep the channel open. Around them, the human crew worked with impressive speed and focus. Captain Donovan stood at the center of the bridge, calmly giving orders. First Officer Rivers coordinated with the station's defense team. Lisa Kim maintained communication with both the station and the approaching Dravak ships. 2 minutes until the Dravaks are in firing range. Lisa announced. Adapter code complete, Jack said. Zara, try it now. Zora entered the code. The screens flickered, then showed a unified shield grid. It worked. The systems are linked. Transfer shield control to the Horizon, Captain Donovan ordered. Zara took a deep breath and pressed the final sequence. Control transferred. The main view screen showed the 3 massive Dravaks battlecruisers approaching. They were at least 5 times larger than the ships they had faced earlier, with heavy weapons mounted on all sides. They're charging weapons, Lisa reported. Captain Donovan straightened his uniform. Open a channel to the lid ship. The screen changed to show a Dravak's commander. The alien had gray, leathery skin, small yellow eyes, and rows of sharp teeth. Human vessel, it growled. Surrender or be destroyed along with this station. This is Captain Eric Donovan of Earth. We have no quarrel with you. Leave this sector peacefully, and no harm will come to you or your crews. The Dravak's commander laughed, a harsh barking sound. You are outnumbered and outgunned, human. Your species is nothing but a myth, and soon you will be nothing at all. I've given you a chance to retreat, Donovan said calmly. Remember that. He signaled to Lisa to cut the transmission. They're firing. Lisa called out. Multiple red beams shot from the Dravak ships toward the station. The combined shields glowed bright blue as they absorbed the energy. Shield strength? Donovan asked. Holding at 98%, Jack reported with a smile. The absorption is working perfectly. Zara couldn't believe it. The station's shields alone would have failed instantly under such an attack. Jack, prepare the pulse, Donovan ordered. Full spectrum this time. Charging, Jack replied. Ready in 30 seconds. The Dravaks continued their assault, firing all weapons. The shields grew brighter with each hit, absorbing the energy rather than being weakened by it. Pulse ready, Jack announced. Donovan nodded. Target their weapons and propulsion systems only. Fire. A wave of blue-white energy surged outward from the horizon. When it reached the Dravak ships, their weapons went dark. Their engines sputtered and died. All 3 ships have lost power to critical systems, Jack reported. They're disabled, but life support remains functional. Open a channel to the station, Donovan said. The head counselor's face appeared on screen. Captain Donovan, this is remarkable. You've disabled 3 battle cruisers without destroying them. That was our intention, Counselor. The Dravak's crews are alive and unharmed. Their ships can be towed and the crews detained. The Counselor's 4 arms moved in a gesture of respect. The Confederation owes you a debt, Captain. Perhaps we have much to learn from humans after all. After the Dravak ships were secured, the Horizon's crew was welcomed back to the station as heroes. In the Great Hall, the Council held an emergency session. Zara watched from the front row as Captain Donovan and his officers stood before the Council. The head counselor raised all 4 hands for silence. Today marks a historic occasion. For centuries, we believed humans were extinct or worse, dangerous primitives who destroyed themselves. We were wrong. The counselor turned to Captain Donovan. On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I formally invite Earth to join our community of worlds. We have much to learn from each other. Donovan stepped forward. We accept your invitation, Counselor. Earth looks forward to a new era of cooperation and friendship. The hall erupted in cheers and applause. Different species that had never seen a human before now celebrated their arrival. Zara found herself wiping tears from her eyes. Just days ago, she had been a simple radar technician who spotted an unusual signal. Now she had helped change the course of galactic history. As the celebration continued, Captain Donovan approached her. Thank you, Zara. None of this would have been possible without you. Zara's antennae quivered with emotion. What happens now? Donovan smiled. Now the real work begins. The Horizon will return to Earth with Confederation representatives, and we'd like you to join us as the official liaison. Me? Zara gasped. Visit Earth. The planet that everyone thought was just a myth, Donovan said with a wink. What do you say? Zara looked around at the celebrating crowd, then back at the human captain. When do we leave?